What's good, people? It's your boy, Icarus Gray. You know, and this... See how I switched it up? It's Gray Area Anime.
I like it.
Back again. I have to switch it up every time to get you off your toes. Or on your toes. I don't know if you dance to this. You might dance to this.
I like dancing to this.
When
I first heard it, I was thinking, why doesn't Icarus freestyle?
Oh, I forgot about these things. You did.
Why don't we just start dropping hot fire?
You want hot fire?
Bars
Okay.
right now.
Let's see.
Oh Lord.
Get this loop going.
1, 2. 1, 2.
Yeah.
1,
Are these
2.
the bars?
Get me ready. No, not
It's
yet.
the warm up. Okay.
2. Everybody knows now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They already know now.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
doing?
That was my. I was actually trying to rap with the soundboard.
Oh,
that was my first
no.
mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you say?
First mistake. Learn the
Everybody
breaks.
knows now.
Yay.
And then the beat.
We don't have an applause.
Yeah,
I
that
like
was it. Everybody knows now.
Well, they do be knowing now.
No.
If anybody needs a mixtape, they do be knowing now.
Yeah. You know who the hell they is.
That was, you
gonna
know,
come
like
back
I at the end, I'll actually give y'all something worthy of an actual freestyle. I was trying to be too funny and comical, but as you can hear, we has a guest.
Hello.
Yay.
We
People.
has a guest. Introduce yourself like how they do in the battle rap scene.
Hey, this is Ian G. That's G-double-E up in this business.
Yeah.
I'm out here with my Puerto Rican. No
this
bitches
money.
on my side. Not today. Not getting money because I'm unemployed. But I'm still doing my thing out here.
Yeah.
We have an Oscar award-winning actor, Ian G.
In the making, yes. Most certainly.
Literally Oscar. Literally. That is my
Indeed.
role in the current
Double
theater.
entendre. See, my
Right,
wordplay is
Yo,
deep, yo.
Yes. This is why we need the freestyle. This is what we need. But yeah, I'm just
Oscar
you know,
award winner.
No. I was just thinking, never mind. I was about to say something that might have been considered lecherous, so I'll keep it to myself.
Get out of here.
Well, I'm
Pass
just
it
saying,
along
don't
and I'll say
double
it so you don't
entendres
have-
generally refer to sex.
Not always.
No,
Get out of
I'm just wondering. I just was
here. No,
wondering.
not always.
I'm gonna
But
look it up.
anyway,
Call up
guys,
my English teacher from 11th grade.
I know. That's what I was looking like.
And
That
see,
like it's been too long.
Well, this, guys, is a special Teach Me Senpai extra sessions.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to explain the episode, but this one's kind of hard. It's just, it's like,
May I?
oh, this is an OVA.
Yes.
Teach Me Senpai OVA.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going to
Teach
go
Me
with it.
Senpai OVA.
Same
I
wavelength.
like it. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's an OVA, not an extra session. This is an
So
OVA.
is this our hot springs trip, or is this our beach trip, or is this our shopping trip? Which one
Or
of
a
the
random
OVAs?
sports game or winter festival.
Winter festival?
Winter Festival. This is the Winter Festival.
Is this a time skip where we're already together, me and you?
Or is he like one of those
No,
characters that
we're
just pops
trying
up
to
for this
get to
particular...
given this BL situation going on between us, we are trying to get to the fireworks to hold hands so we can be together forever.
And you did promise me a dance after
I
the
did.
fireworks.
I did.
Yeah.
And we're like childhood friends. We grew up together.
Yeah. So I do wonder what inconvenience will there be to stop you from doing that and create
Probably
a miscommunication.
It will
His
always
wife.
be the,
Yes. Yeah.
Just gonna throw that in there.
That's
Okay.
how it is.
So start. This is his thing. There's notes and things. I'm gonna let Ian kind of guide this episode because he's the guest, and this is again the OVA. So we switch it up and we do different things.
Right. Ooh, I'm already blushing. So, as far as guiding it goes, I guess I do want to start with saying what anime means to me. In the
Yes,
same
yes,
fashion as you did in your first episode and as you did. To me, I view it as not just another form of this, but it is another form of escape. As much as there has been, with video games or TV shows and movies. Ever since I moved here to Arkansas, specifically from Puerto Rico, I've gotten more into it. just because of the accessibility as the internet grew.
Yes.
As well as the other form of reality it gave me at the time. Growing up, disjointed family, poverty, a lot of home troubles. It provided me a different view into another culture,
Right.
as well as other stories that I could fall in love with, and just nourish myself with other kind of, with other kind of emotions other than whatever I was experiencing at home. So it is a really, really good form of escapism. And I view it as any other type of media or, for lack of a better word, drug that you have at your disposal. There's people out there that will abuse such a thing, which is what gives, in my opinion, a lot of anime viewers a bad rap.
Yeah.
Is because of those, what we were talking about earlier, otakus or the NEETs in Japan, the shut-ins.
Yeah.
That take it to another completely different dimension. Whereas like I view it as escapism, but I'm healthily detached from it.
Yeah.
I don't view it as my reality, or
Right.
I don't think 2D girls are better than 3D girls, or
Some
of them are. Some.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I haven't even got there yet. Mostly because like mine was more a focal point. So like my big dive into it was like heartbreak fuel for me.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, I love this. This is amazing.
Yes.
And when you peel back the fact that, like, I said on the first episode, you've had a million different animes that came out when I was younger that had finished like 10 years. But now I was watching probably like 2 or 3 days or like a week after when they would do like translations, because they had to go in there and sub everything. You had so many different people trying to sub, whereas now like I'm watching literally the same Saturday that they're watching over there, and I'm not missing anything. And it just evolved into the greatest form of expression somewhat. Like games and anime are so synonymous with my escapism and relaxation that I connect relatably with everything that you're saying, because it does that for you.
Yeah, it really does.
And it's so much deeper than the surface level stuff that they like try and do, like with the mainstream stuff that people are joking about. So,
and it's hard to get past the surface level because of how a lot of it is presented, due to the cultural difference of what they're trying to show. So I do have here my first anime I ever watched, aside from Dragon Ball, because when I was younger I didn't consider Dragon Ball an anime.
Yeah.
I think it was a cartoon. Especially in Puerto Rico, there's a huge cultural significance to animes like that, like Naruto and Dragon Ball and like power fantasies.
Yeah.
So it's just, to me, it seemed like a cartoon. But my first anime in which I was confused as to how I was supposed to feel about it was Orin High School Host Club. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah. So my sister,
She hasn't watched it, but I have.
No.
I
But
recommend it.
I
It's pretty funny. It's cute.
Amazing.
I when I first started it, my sister had shown it to me. She forced me. She sat me down along with Fruits Basket.
That one I skipped.
It's all right. It's all right. It's just one of those older, romance, cute.
Yeah, that they've just now remade. If you'd like to watch it over on Crunchyroll,
And I've heard that one's pretty good as well. But she had forced me to sit down with her and watch it because she told me there was like funny scenes, and she would show me clips on YouTube, and I would be like, oh, this is pretty funny. Like, there'd be the old YouTube poops on YouTube for it, or the anime compilations, or the AMVs and stuff. So I initially started watching it.
Like, you literally, like, oh man,
it's deep in there.
I used to watch Bleach AMVs.
Yes.
Like nobody's business. They had one to like Evanescence.
Yeah. When was it not Evanescence? When was
Good
it not
point.
Evanescence?
They
That
had,
makes sense though.
and it's like, like it made me want to. It made me want to be an animator. I mean, I'm not an animator, obviously, but when I would listen to those, excuse me, I'm about to clear my throat, and I don't feel like muting this. Take that.
Wow. Okay.
Take that right in the mic.
It's okay.
Thanks.
If Ethan Klein can do it, you can do
Right
it too.
in the mic. I'm sorry. But they were like so amazing. Like it made me want to like have a movie with like these songs because I remember when those things like would come out, the Evanescence, like all the title tracks for Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
The good God, man. Like, oh, wake me up. Wake me up inside. I can't wake up.
Daredevil,
Whenever,
My
favorites were like, Naruto AMVs with like Papa Roach or Metallica or something
Papa
crazy.
Roach.
Sync it up to the fights and the punches with all the music. It made you, I share that feeling. It made me want to be an animator just
because you just
for the sole purpose of just doing that.
Your brain is going in overload because it's like, I love this song, I love this anime.
And
they're together.
I have something to confess. I still watch AMVs. Nice. There are Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball and Naruto AMVs with Suicide Boys, one of my favorite artists right now. They're so fitting because now, like, obviously that along with anime and music has evolved to be a little bit more better editing and production quality to it.
I'm gonna get back into it.
There are some good ones. There's a lot of dumb ones. It's just kind of like, why are you putting Ariana Grande over Death Note? Like, it's just like, why?
Well, because no one tries. You know, like there's people who are doing stuff for memeability. Yeah. Which is the funniest thing in the world that people are doing now. And then there are other people who are just, making fun of the medium in and of itself. But yeah, like, oh man, I'm gonna have to find some of those. I know I probably can't find the old AMVs, but
they're still up there. They're still up there. I can guarantee you, if you look at the dates, there's still a lot of them that are up 15 years, 20 years. Like,
but let's talk Ouran.
So Ouran, right?
Because I watched that entire series. And I remember when I watched it because I watched it on a web. The website is gone now, but I used to be a huge contributor to otakucenter.com. And like that is back when like that is the only forum posting thing I ever did in my entire life. Right. Like I was literally one of the top 10 posters because the thing was post as much as you can, and that's how you got on the top of this list. And I made it up to the top 10. Right. And you were like people, I have friends on Facebook that I literally only know
because
from that website. And we're just all adults, and it's just like,
remember that thing we used to do?
Yeah, like, man, we I was a member of Akatsuki. Or the Naruto stuff. I always say it wrong.
Akatsuki.
Yeah, look at me. See, I can do it too. See, I'm not always there. You got it.
Yeah, no, I still feel alone, but thank you.
And then of course we did the Hukamundo, but I can't think of the Hollows.
In Bleach.
Yeah, and I was of course Grimjaw.
Yeah, well,
that's hot. That's hot.
That's his thing.
That's my guy. But I loved Ouran just because it was the first time where they do the quote unquote gender bender stuff. Yeah. That it wasn't weird. Yeah. It was funny and it was cool and it was like inviting to like, you knew that she was still a girl, but like every now and again they dress her up real nice like a guy, and she'd, make some girl fall for it, and then all of them would just fall deeper for her.
It was definitely a weird way to introduce myself to anime because that's the first harem anime as well that I got into. That's a good point. It just turned out to be a gender bender harem or opposite day harem or whatever you call it.
But it's still not that bad because
it's not.
Listen, gender bender in terms of a spectrum. If I've said this before, if you think that LGBTQ should just use anime as I don't want them to. Say this now,
then it'll become something completely
different.
Like
you already have the rainbow. Let's just keep anime for everyone.
Keep anime inclusive.
Keep anime inclusive. But my point more so is that is the biggest support I've ever seen for like just people being themselves for the most part. Like Mr. Two or Mr. Bonclay.
Oh, yes. Oh God.
In One Piece,
yes,
is amazing, but I'm drifting apart from the point. But like, God, that was good.
It was acceptable. Anime. Like it wasn't. Okay, I will say though, there are parts of it that are weird. Yeah. When I was younger, because when I watched it, I was like 10, 11.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure when you watched it, but I was definitely a little bit.
Oh, I
younger.
would have been definitely almost 18, 19, 20.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So there was a bit of a maturity difference because me watching it at that age, I'd see this girl surrounded by guys, fooling them, making them fall in love slowly in a weird way, even though she's supposed to be a guy. We're getting all this attention, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty funny. Like, this is cool, but how do they not know? Like,
That she's
are they
a
all
girl?
just gay?
They don't know they're gay. Yeah,
But I didn't mind it, but it was a good, different perspective into that.
But that's
sort
how they
of-
do that.
Yeah.
With the gender benders or any sort of those like relationships, even when they do BL, girl love, or any of the stuff, they don't do it in a way that's like, ugh. It's
They don't-
more like
yeah.
it is transparent and kind of it flows.
Yeah.
It flows along with whatever topic that they're kind of going on with, unless they're trying to make like a hilarious point, like in Beelzebub.
Well, I was gonna say in like Kill la Kill at the end, because when she was like, "Will you go on a date with me after you beat up your mom?" I'm like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting
yeah.
that," but that was kind of funny.
Right.
Like
But
it
it's
was,
like,
out of,
you
like,
know,
but it made sense though.
But
for
it's
her
more
character.
like, it's not like, there's three ways they do it. There's the funny way. There's the, okay, we could see them being interested all along, or the, you know, like with like what we thought was going to happen in Are You the Only One Who Loves Me, or whatever the name of it is.
Yeah.
And we thought that his best friend was going to end up being in love with him.
Oh yes, I was so happy they didn't do that, because I was gonna be like, oh man, like that. I kind of saw that coming, but they surprised me. Like,
Yeah.
oh okay, he's just a dick.
Yeah.
Like,
But they
okay.
have that kind of way too, where it's like they have like this general hatred that's not hatred, and they were like upset because of love, kind of thing. Thin line between love and hate.
Yeah.
Representation of that. So they just take it and they make it more relationship based versus making it like statement of society
Right.
based.
They don't make it weird. They don't make it seem taboo. They don't make
No.
you,
Yeah, no, it's very
they
natural.
make you think about it while it's happening. But
Yeah,
not in
and they
any sort of
joke
way.
about it.
Yeah.
Like whatever they're like, oh, I could have expected this from you. You know, it definitely adds a little bit of wholesomeness to it.
Can I add a caveat to
Go
this? Only because since we're talking about how natural that is, and how, you know, it unfolds in a very like realistic and kind of endearing way.
Yeah.
I also think it's funny, or I guess, well, comedic. I'll say it's comedic. It might not always be funny, but it's very comedic to me when they do the same for like the brother sister thing. So like the anime, I can't remember the name of it, but the guy that like loves girls with glasses. You know what I'm talking about? And she like tried to kill him or whatever in the beginning. And then his best friend is like in love with his little sister, who's in love with him. It's like this really weird triangle, but they're constantly talking about like their loves. And it's like, I just wish my little sister would just look at me the way she looks at you. Like, dude, no,
I
that's
think
a
I know
little
what you're
weird.
talking about.
But it's so
I think I know what
funny.
you're talking about too, but they did something like that, I think, in Love is War too.
The brother sister thing?
Yeah, because anyway, but
Well,
they,
I
Yeah,
was just
but I
finished
mean, I just
watching
like the way that they-
Sudedede Children.
so
Yeah.
there's children.
They do
Yeah.
that with
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you get the
guy that
did
won't
you see
like
the
it.
pregnant
Yes.
Yeah.
thing? Oh my God.
We died.
So I literally stayed up most of the night last night watching it after I'd woken up.
But I told you. But see,
And it was
I'm 2
like
for
you
2.
were saying it. The kid that won't make up his mind
Mm-hmm.
about the girl, his little sister is just constantly all over him,
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh, she's not good for you, Oni-chan. She's not good for you," in a weird, like, not just like protective little sister way, but
But in
just
a, you're
idolizing
mine.
your
Yeah, like-
mind.
it's
kinda
always
way.
this strange thing to me that like seems so like, is this just normal, man? Like,
But bringing it back to Oran High School Host Club,
yeah,
there is that boys love aspect, including the siblings aspect with the two
Yeah.
twins.
yes,
Where they're twins, they're brothers,
yes.
they're
I forgot all about
blood
that.
related, but they have a whole thing in their host club where
They
the
have a
girls
whole
love
thing.
to see
Love
them
the fact
all
that
over
they're
each other.
yeah,
Oh
and
my
they like
gosh, that's
are
so
always,
weird.
and then like,
weird.
but they literally, it's like every trope that exists is each one of the members.
Yeah.
And they
I
and
mean,
I
it's
think
kind of like how
that's-
we talk about the new harem. Like again, I can't think of
yeah.
the name of it. Go find the name. of
Is
that
you
one.
talking about
The is
Orisuke? Are you the only one that loves me?
yes,
Yeah.
or yes. Are you the only one who loves me? That we just started that one, and like every character plays into one of those tropes, and it's interesting.
Anytime you get into harems, though, it can be like you never know what you're gonna get. So when you can find one that's good, you know, and it kind of
will,
defies your expectations, so to speak, then you're winning, I think, because they it's so easy for them to, like, that's one of the problems I had with Strike the Blood is it's like, dude, you're just okay. We're just gathering more girls
what's
for
the other
you
one?
to bite on. Like,
is this the one where we said
I'm
it's
not
a
here for
harem
that.
done right? Did we say this one was a harem done right? Because
I
we had
think
watched
so,
one where
but
we
there
had
was
talked
another
about
one.
harem.
Recently that we
ReZero is
watched.
also a harem done right.
Yes.
I like
Yes.
Konosuba. Konosuba does it in a really funny way.
Well, because they just exaggerate everything, and I
Yeah.
like that. And they don't take themselves seriously. What else do you have in your bag of tricks or your bag of notes?
So I want to segue, now that we're talking about harems,
Yes.
into one of my all-time favorites, which is harem, not harem. It's very much, at first glance, is a harem. Monster of the week, girl of the week type of anime, but it's not when you watch it. By Shaft Studios, Bakemonogatari. I don't know if you've ever heard of the
These
Monogatari.
jokes can't write themselves. Shaft Studios.
Shaft Studios, yeah. I saw
No,
that.
they're very, very talented. You ever heard of the Monogatari series or the Bakemonogatari, Nisei Monogatari? Any of that?
This is new for me.
Okay, I recommend it 100%. Like full force. I have no reservations about telling you go spend your life. It spans across, I want to say 7 series.
Okay.
Started 2009, like 3 movies. Essentially, at first glance, it's a harem monster girl of the week where our main character is tasked to solve these issues of the girls. However, the more you watch it, the more the Shaft Studios animation and its amazing tendency to use animation as symbolism or wordplay as symbolism in Japanese language,
Right.
you'll see that this anime goes beyond any of that, any of those tropes.
That is also something that's amazing to me about Japanese culture in general is, like you said, like a double entendre is easy because it's just a character change.
Yeah.
It's like a small character change. I mean, the words are exactly the same, but you have to see them written to know
Between
the difference.
kanji and the pronunciation and everything.
Yeah. And that's
a lot of
like-
that flies over our heads unless we watch a lot of anime.
And they say after, like, oh, you meant cat, like as in
Yeah.
this cat versus not cat with the I and the blah blah blah.
You said neko, not koneko. It's
Yeah.
completely
Yes.
different meaning. Like something.
Like, are you asking? Like, she thinks that he's asking her to go to bed with him.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what she actually said is, "Would you like to go study?"
Yeah. It's just and then the dialects and
Would you
everything.
like to go steady? Wow.
Yeah, but I love that. That's another one of those little small aspects about when a harem is done right. It is literally the most rewarding thing in anime most times because you're able to understand the conflict. You're able to understand when people play their roles correctly. What's going on, producer?
I'm not supporting Shaft Studios.
Why?
Why? Oh, they made magic.
They made Puella Magi Madoka.
I knew it as soon as I saw your face before you even finished.
Done.
That's how,
Before I even start.
Different
animators.
Different animators that
Okay.
worked on Bakemono.
Okay.
I will say, with that anime, everything that seemingly at first glance seems like an anime trope,
yeah.
it's a deconstruction of that, in my opinion.
That's
it's
what-
a deconstruction
yeah.
of the harem
Yeah.
trope. It's a deconstruction of the tsundere, yandere, mean lolly, sports girl, perfection girl.
See that?
Those
I see that
yanderes
through line
are
because that's
the
exactly what Puella is, and I think that's the reason why I like reacted to it so like
It's all-
horribly
to-
is because it really is a deconstruction of like the magical girl
Yeah.
trope, and I'm going into it with my Sailor Moon eyes and
Yeah.
getting
That's a
totally
little bit more
decimated.
extreme. That's a little bit more extreme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like these things,
a little bit more
you know, these things could have consequences. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
it's kind of like sitting at home playing a Ouija board versus a movie.
Right.
neither of which I want to do.
No, I know, but you get what I'm saying.
I
Like,
know,
it's like,
I
you
know.
know, like, you know, the reality is you think someone's going to tell you what your future is. It's going to spell a name
And
versus
what actually happens is
you're opening all kinds of things to yourself. But moving on.
So, with it starts. It's really weird how the show starts because Bakemonogatari, it starts you smack dab in the middle of the story.
Mhm.
This is the first chronological release.
like
2009.
like the melancholy of
Haruhi Suzumiya.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It hits you with the story, what's going on, and throws you context clues of what happened to get to that point, but it doesn't overtly show you until way later in the series.
Okay.
Where it does sort of like flashback movies or things to give it time to explain itself.
Okay.
Instead of just trying to shoehorn it in and be like, this happens and now he's here and oh my, no. It starts it with the main character, Aradagi-san, being incompetent enough to realize what to do with these things. So basically he's a high school student who came across a young lolly vampire who bit him, and now he's 1/10 vampire. And so
I feel like I have seen an episode or something of this.
it's you might have, because
Yeah.
the steep curve of getting into it due to its animation might have been a little bit too much, because it has really unflattering angles on their faces and heavy
that's never
symbolism and colorizations that are just very
That's never a problem with me because I love Mob.
Yeah.
Like Mob is
It's
like Mob
reminiscent
literally
of Mob.
like until I like explained it to Prima Diva, she didn't take the fact that there was a depth to it.
Yeah.
Because like it just looked like she was like, I don't like this. This looks like they didn't try to draw it at all.
Until Mob went off.
Yeah, and that's
Then
why
I
I
was
said
like,
like
oh,
you
I
have
like
to,
this.
Now you
now.
understand
Yeah,
the
but
because
like,
they do it to overemphasize the simplicity of contained emotions, everyone's contained emotions, versus when he releases the watercolor, everything flows.
I
It
was like,
flows
oh,
like
that's
emotions
beautiful.
It's kind of
But
like
yeah,
how
no,
Kimetsu no
initially.
Yaiba does it when they use their powers, and it goes from just regular, cutesy through the water dance or the fire,
Yes.
I can't wait.
Cool
That movie is almost here.
Is it?
It's almost here. March.
I'm ready for it. I mean, I keep going
And
back
I believe
to
they're
Crunchyroll.
gonna. I think they're gonna. I think they are releasing it on Crunchyroll. So I'm like, I am ready.
Get your ad blocks gone.
My body is ready.
So, in the same sense, Bakemonogatari is that way. It does a lot of visual imagery, even with its fan service, which I'll tie into that.
Yeah.
It doesn't just throw it out. Now, there is a famous scene in the show that people like to meme about. It's the sister toothbrushing scene.
I have heard about that. Well, okay.
So,
So he
there's a purpose.
so there's
say
this
that.
there's the sister
I'll keep that in mind.
there's the sister brother stuff, right?
He has two sisters.
Two sisters, but then there's the sister brother stuff. And he brushes her teeth. And
The one-
there's a
Okay.
there's a climax of the story.
Yeah, it's weird because it starts off, they're just having a brother sister bonding moment, and then he realizes how erotic brushing someone's teeth is if you were doing it to somebody else, and what their reactions and what the consequence of just brushing their teeth is, and he starts to question himself as a man for doing that with his little sister, and then having these perverse thoughts and being like, I'm just brushing her teeth. Why does this seem so
Wrong.
overblown
Yeah.
and sexual and wrong? And he gets these dark thoughts, and then it ends with the other sister walking in, and he's like, no, just brushing her teeth. Okay, that's it. That's all it is. But it's cool how the visual imagery shows it, because it could have been a simple thing of just done.
Yeah.
But it elongates the scene. It has them in these awkward, almost like Machiavellian painting positions, these crazy artistic movements, and I don't know.
I think it's like even been on like Watch Mojo in terms of like one of the weirdest things.
Yeah, one of the weirdest
also,
scenes.
quick aside, guys. This is an OVA, so it goes on longer.
Oh, word.
I'm cool with
I
that,
like
man.
it.
Yeah. And because it's you and you're special. Normally we hold these episodes to 30 minutes, but we like
Are we
you.
already at 30 minutes?
Almost.
How does anybody do this? If I had a podcast, I'd be talking for hours. And
There are
hours.
podcasts that go on for an
Yeah.
hour and a half, and
We
this
just
can
weren't
be
going
one
to
of
be one
them.
of them.
Or this episode can be
This
one.
episode is one of them just
I hope
because,
people
like I said, I
enjoy
like it.
I hope people enjoy it.
But it's more so like a thing where, just to talk about it, when you're talking about something that you love, which is why I love doing this, you just go.
It just go. It's hard not to.
And OVAs are always longer and more special.
Yes.
I will ask kindly that you stop looking at me when you make such disgusting comments.
If you could have seen his eyebrow raise in the middle of
I mean,
that,
that is just waiting for me to squirm.
cherry on top.
Gosh.
Oh, sorry, Navi.
So that toothbrush scene is just a very odd aside in an anime, but it adds to it because of that absurdity to it as well. It's very absurdist.
But there's a lot of that, and I think a lot of time it's hard to kind of explain that at least fan service can have purpose.
Yeah,
it's not like most of our general fans are. It serves no purpose. It's just to over sexualize whatever's on TV.
And there's a good rule to go by where you can look at a fan service in an anime and think to yourself, number one, does this motivate the scene any further? And number two, has this character been previously overly sexualized constantly? So you keep looking at each scene go by, and you start to notice that this is just, they're using that as a selling point to keep you hooked in, you know? An otherwise cool character might be lowered in what I consider respect because the animator just continuously shows, oh, you like this character? You want to see her tits? You want to see her ass? I know you're going to keep watching if you want to see her tits and ass. Let's show you some tits.
Yeah, just like I mean, the general way that Oda started drawing One Piece versus how he draws One Piece now.
Yeah.
Like 2 year time skip meant everybody gets implants.
Yeah.
Everybody gets implants. Everybody gets implants. Throw it on them. Everybody gets implants.
Ooh.
Here you go. Here you go. Left one, right one, bigger than the other.
Wow.
How's your back feeling? Ooh.
Your back's so strong.
She ain't got no back.
They don't have a back
They
at
have
all.
no
waist,
back.
no
They have no
back.
waist, no back.
And they wear heels all the time. I feel sorry for those women. They're gonna be looking like the old mermaids. That's what it is. When the mermaids become grown, that's exactly what those women are gonna look like.
Yo.
Hands down.
But that's strong pirate ladies. They gotta have the big boobs. They're strong pirate ladies.
That get in the way while
That
you're trying
is
to kill somebody.
directly related to their power levels.
Yes. Why do you think Goku's chest is so big?
His good point.
Super Saiyan 3 Goku? You fucking kidding me?
So
That's
what
dumb.
you're
Triple
Or
telling
E.
me-
Kaioken times 20
Kaioken
Goku
times
without a
20?
shirt.
So what y'all telling me is that at some point Luffy's chest is gonna get bigger.
No,
One would
it's
hope so.
rubber. He is the implant.
That's
So
true.
the
That's true.
only person that I can look to is Zoro. That's what
Yeah,
we're-
Zoro, he does it all the
'Cause, I
time. You see
mean,
what happens with his arms?
I know.
when he
Thank God
uses
for
gorilla-
Zoro because
his gorilla,
obviously I wouldn't have another reason to watch.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean the story's okay.
So now you're not
No, I'm
looking at
kidding.
Usopp? You don't like Usopp?
No, I don't like Usopp.
What?
I never liked
You don't
Usopp.
like 2 year skip black
Oh
Usopp?
wait, no, I take it back. Usopp is looking right these
2 year
days.
skip
I'm
black
sorry.
Usopp?
May I?
Forgive me.
Yes.
He looking right. I'm sorry.
I do kind of wish there was more.
Did you have you had a take on fan service?
Well, I think it's essentially like what I'd said, the two determining factors
Yeah.
of that, how to see it. I think for a well-adjusted, healthy person who is very critical of themselves, fan service is nothing. It's just another additive of an otherwise unassuming medium. That's just, it's there. It's cultural. You can accept it or you can't. And then if you can accept it, you can watch it and find these amazing stories. And if you can't accept it, you're missing out. But I understand. I completely understand.
I don't. Only because, again, though, that same person will watch Baywatch.
Yeah.
That same person. And that's always my move because we spent so many years, like,
I think it's a little different.
Well, here's
first of
how I
all,
was
because
explaining
the
it.
stigma, it's animated. Let's start right there. And then
Well,
secondly,
no, I understand, but it's still. I was watching Beauty and the Beast the other day.
No, what you're not gonna do, okay?
Hold on.
What you're not gonna do
Is it's in the song
Hey, the mouse.
where she comes up to buy some fruit or whatever, and he's like, "How are you doing today?" He said, and she goes, "How's your wife?" Because her bosom is
What Beauty and Beast you watching? The live action?
no, it's in the it's
No,
in
no, I
it's the
don't remember
animated
any
one.
of this. No.
You're talking about
you
the
don't.
opening song where she's traveling through the town.
Yeah,
I'm not about to sing the whole thing. I think I
Oh
know.
wait,
yes.
no, I do. I know what
Yes.
you're talking about, but
yes,
no.
It's your wife. Yeah.
yeah.
But I didn't think he. And her bosom is not big in that movie.
Go and watch it.
I'm about to do it right now.
So I think a
But
good point that
there's
in
there, and even like Lion King, the Simba and Nala scene, like even though it's not saying,
It's weird curvature to the lion.
but they're still like when they're engaging with one another, or like there are the subtle joke. Like a big bosom woman is always a joke in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
It's true.
Sometimes like a kid is looking like, hey, and his mom like hits him on the back of his head, like don't stare at her.
Right.
or whatever the case may be.
Young muscle man, or
and him doing the thing, or even his the love interest of the 3 blonde girls in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah,
You talking about Gaston?
Yeah. But I'm saying, regardless,
I get it.
you know, it's there. Like, I mean, you're not like
Yeah, but no one's doing shots of their boobs or their ass.
they're not
It's a little bit
getting
more
closer.
It's extremely more
but it's
explicit.
just
Let me
subtle.
not say little. It's a lot
But
more
it's just
explicit.
subtle. I mean, even Elastigirl in general.
now, that
Wait a
is an
minute now.
interesting-
Now
okay,
that does
is
lend
interesting.
itself to, the situation,
No.
but not in a way that's like
Dude,
overt.
like if you're okay, so when she gets caught in the damn door,
and
it's
that
just like
big old booty.
on her butt.
Well, that's hilarious because kids laugh at butts.
Kids laugh.
Not
Never mind.
bare
All right.
butts.
But
You
it
know
They
what?
brings
do
up
laugh
the-
at
you know,
butts,
it brings
though.
up the question: is Elastigirl that thick, or is she using her powers to make herself that thick?
Elastigirl can't use her powers to
Come
make her
on.
butt thicker.
Yes, she can. She can make herself into a 2D plane to get through.
And
Yeah.
you
the
think
door,
that she can?
and look at her waist.
Look at Luffy.
Look at her waist.
Look at Luffy.
Luffy
Elephant
ain't
gun.
getting no bigger
Elephant gun.
temporarily.
How
I think okay. So my point is, if the people that cannot accept that fan service
Yeah.
are ignorant because of the fact that that is something that happens in every form of media. I mean, you look at Tarantino's movies; his fan
Yeah.
service is feet, constantly.
He has
feet.
all the
Constantly
fan
feet.
And
service
dropping
of
the
all
N word
kinds.
all the time.
Yes.
So
all the time. Like
if
I think
you-
he's a. Never mind. I almost used that word. I think he's a
something.
cuck.
He is an interesting Hollywood character.
I think
Yes,
he's
he
a.
is.
I think in real life he's a cuck.
He might be. He might just be.
I'm not gonna get further into that. I'm not even gonna explain.
We'll talk about that
But
off air
you know what I
Okay,
mean.
when I get on the phone with Mr. Tarantino tomorrow, I will run that by him.
and see what it says. I mean, if he comes across this podcast, I'm sure he wouldn't have a problem saying something.
Oh,
Man,
oh, I
I am
never
not a
mind.
cuck. I am not a cuck. I'm telling you right now. Uma Thurman's feet, which is beautiful. They serve a purpose. They motivate the camera.
No.
Nah, man.
So,
They motivate
in my
you.
honest opinion, I think it's just people. There is overt fan service in anime to the point
Yeah.
where some anime has been ruined for me because I'm just like,
Some are,
I
like,
don't-
terrible.
Come on, like I can't just be watching tits and ass all day because my parents are walking in right now and I can't explain that shit to them.
And if you want to watch porn, you might as well just watch porn.
Exactly, I might as well
It's
just
how
go
they'll
watch
see
hentai.
it.
Which is
What?
funny
Because
now.
sometimes there are some, like, you know, again, like freezing or anything of that nature where, achoo, clothes are off.
Yes.
Look, okay.
Or like, okay, here's another good example. Have you seen Fire Force?
Yes.
Yeah.
So really enjoyable,
Mm-hmm.
but what's the girl's name? Maki?
The priestess?
No,
or are you
no,
talking
no,
about
No, no, no.
fire-
The
cat-
the
Oh,
cat
yeah,
girl.
yeah.
Like, and she always falls into.
She's
there's a
always
part of her,
comic
like-
relief
Yeah.
fan service.
Yeah.
And some points I'm like, there's no reason to do that, but then I realize her character's purpose is for like a nice change of pace to an otherwise very serious
Very
moment.
serious,
of,
very
Yeah.
dark.
Like whenever that guy is finding children and putting the firebug inside of them.
That is so
Oh
good that
my
we're
God,
actually. That is
yes.
pretty much where we are. That is pretty much where we've stopped because we need to
I'm
catch
not
up.
going to say anything else after that.
Well, no, we've gotten past that.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we
No,
did.
not really.
We got like right after the episode. But anyway,
I think I'm like 5 episodes ahead of you, so there's not that much, but
We gotta get back in.
Looking
that
forward
is
to it.
it is like one of those moments where I was like sitting there like, why is there?
You know, we're getting like a year's worth of that.
So
I think we're getting like 48 episodes.
yeah,
Like they have. Like I don't. So that manga has got to have been hot
hot
off the presses.
yes, I see. I saw it becoming another like really cool long running like shonen type of anime.
Yeah.
Like Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece, Bleach, all those.
I could see that.
It's got the beginnings. The
I
audio
want
design is
Boruto
amazing.
to be canceled.
Let me just say, I do find, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I do find it difficult to hope like that for anime to last because so many anime now, when you start them and you enjoy them a lot, like
Well, it just
they
depends on
don't
what the.
last very long.
Well,
They
it
don't
depends
last
on
as
what
long
type
as,
you're
like,
going for. If you're
Naruto or the rest.
Yeah.
is
well,
what
the
I'm saying,
ones
like-
we're looking for are not basically shonen based. The shonen based ones are lasting, whether it's Fire Force or Black Clover or even Promised Neverland, Dr. Stone, because there's enough. My Hero Academia
Yeah.
there's enough of it, and it's popularized, and it's battle anime. Battle animes are the easiest to promote to the masses and continue going, because the general setup that they follow is the editor will go, your character needs a power up by this point. Like whatever the power up is, you need a power up. You need a new villain. You need these 3 things. They need to go through this. There needs to be like a training montage. There needs to be some form of growth. And you're able to continuously go, and we're able to follow that because we're looking for the growth. Yeah. We're looking for whatever the new power up is, whatever the new gear is. Okay, like Hajime no Ippo is like, I think they are still going, and that's 2,000 some odd chapters. Yeah, because it's an easy formula to follow, because you can find a new fighter like his left jab is quicker than the right jab, or you know, his uppercut is the whoa, you know,
and it sells too. It's a big proponent of it. It sells. If you look at the marketing history of My Hero Academy, it was very quickly after it opened that you were already getting figurines and pop figures and costumes and cosplay conventions and pouring money into it. Yeah. Which is not a bad thing. I like that kind of stuff.
Because the top are all battle anime.
And it's awesome.
Like if there's one that's not, it's awesome. Like The Promised Neverland is still technically a battle anime in certain ways. Just because there are different power-ups of their understanding of the world. I'm not
like an intelligence way. I do have a cool, different opinion, I feel like, about Promised Neverland that we can get to since we're on it. But just quickly going back to Bakemono, I just guarantee you'll like it if you stick with it.
It's actually on the queue, and I don't know if I put it there or someone else put it there, but
somebody else probably
go to look up the chronological order, because there's a lot to watch. There's Bakemono, Nisemono, Takoimono. There's a Monogatari series, season 1 and 2, and there's a lot of it. But it's really enjoyable. It's different. I think you'll both appreciate the character relationships. And
I mean, if you got to get a harem is never bad if the relationships are good.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Tenchi Muyo was my first introduction into the harem stuff, where you picked your waifu, you wanted him to end up with your waifu, and that was that. Because majority of the other ones weren't really like all that crazy. Like Outlaw Star wasn't like huge harem. It was like 2 chicks, and like you either wanted one or the other. That was pretty much it. Outlaw Star, I mean,
stars to me,
just not even gonna get sad about it. But like you technically weren't even thinking about him and Faye. Like you really weren't.
No, it was. I mean,
you didn't even.
She's in the name.
You didn't even consider it until Julia.
Yeah.
Like that last little moment, and that was so impactful in that moment of like using a relationship. So I never. Like any way that you do relationships good in a harem anime will always draw me in, because there's something to lose here. There's something to gain. There's actual thought. There are different personalities that still somehow fit the main character. It's like, if you go with this girl, like she's the one who meets all of your needs, but this girl over here, like she's just wholesome and innocent. This girl over here is Sundera, Yandere, like with you, she challenges you and gains reason, and she doesn't like, she's crazy about you, but she has a reason in her brain to be crazy about you.
That's why I think you'll really enjoy Bakemonogatari, because it plays into all those tropes really wonderfully, while characterizing each trope of that sort of in a harem as really fitting those characters. Like it's not just their tropes. Like you connect with Senjogahara or Hanekawa-san or all the other girls. You really do connect with their personality because they're all unique within that trope.
Oh, I realized I forgot to explain this in one of the episodes. One of my Teach Me Senpais. So they normally call people by their last name. I might have said it, but just want to make sure you guys remember that. You'd call me Gray Son. We'd call you Gonzalez Son.
Gray Sama. Or Gray Senpai.
Oh man. This is
Sama. I think I like Sama better.
Yeah, I like Sama better too. Don't give him all that.
Gray One-chan.
Oh, thank you.
Gray Oni-san, Gray One-chan. I like that. So going towards the Promised Neverland now that we're also on it, I think your opinion about it sort of being in that category of battle anime is befitting. I saw it as, if we can talk just a little bit about spoilers on here.
Spoiler alert.
It's okay. I'm the only person that'll be disappointed. It's cool.
I won't talk about the ending.
Thank you.
Think the
did they already finish?
Just the first season of the anime.
No, you're fine. Because I know where I am in the manga. I need to catch up, but I'm like, they're close.
Okay, I'll start. I need to start reading the manga.
They are very, very close.
I don't know about the manga, but in the show, to me, it seemed like the demons were another metaphor for just humans in general. Humans, the disgusting nature of humans.
Yes. You don't know how right you are.
I will tonight once I go home and start reading it then. I'm interested again.
I promise you. It gets so deep because where they are now, they've just escaped the orphanage.
Right.
That's all.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. And it just seemed to me like such a huge metaphor to just human trafficking or child trafficking. Like the monsters that they showed.
Just wait.
Sure, like the monsters put the roses in their heart and kill them, whatever. All of that, if you take that out and just have them being like sent somewhere, they're just, PETA.
Think PETA.
Yeah. I could see that.
Like literally think PETA. That's it.
That's what PETA does.
Like in general, well, like, I mean, when you think about PETA versus consumption in general, or vegans versus, carnivores or omnivores or whatever the case may be. That's the kind of general process of what the series I think
I can see where you're going with that. I can definitely see what you're going with.
You'll see. Read or watch. It's still really good, and like,
no, I'm gonna watch it for sure.
Like, and they are laying all of the groundwork for, like, oh my god, man, I can't even. It
was really
good.
I slept on this anime for so long, and I'm so glad I watched it this week.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Like, and man, I can't even like. This one, I was like, "Where's you wearing?" Because I would just be spoiling everything, but I can't because then you still
we'll
need
do
to
that
watch
on
it.
A later episode.
Yeah, we will. I'll catch up to it, and we can.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to actually catch. I have to figure out where I'm reading now because one of the big things that they're doing, and I talked about this in another episode, just to remind you guys, is they're moving more towards the streaming services for people actually, like, they're like, we can't really translate anymore. We don't really feel right about it. Yeah. I was reading on a website that had no ads, that, you wasn't going to give your phone a virus. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, they went down because they were like trying to respect, because they would only translate a certain amount of chapters because that was their way of like, keeping it above board and like, hey, we still want you to go buy the novels, but we'll translate the chapters every week. You can probably go back about 2 or 3 chapters. It's where I started reading The Promised Neverland, like literally when it started. And I tried to get her on when it started.
When it started, I was on.
Yeah, and like that has been the most amazing thing to me is all of the things I read, Promised Neverland, Dr. Stone, I started reading My Hero Academia to see how far they've gone in it because they went further than what I thought they would for this season because I thought they were going to have a stop point at this thing that they're at that I can't say about. I'm not going to tell you because I'm not going to spoil it for you. But
thanks.
I wonder.
They went a little bit further.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about, but I haven't gotten too far.
Well, just them defeating the villain that they're fighting now.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't think that they were going to go further than that.
That was very well done, Icarus.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
After All for One, spoiler alert, maybe?
Before that.
Okay, all right.
Full 100%.
Okay.
They went further than the 100%.
Okay, gotcha. Speaking of the translator stuff, shouts out to all translators.
Yes.
Full appreciation. Something broke my heart the other day. So I was telling her I was watching Masamune Kun's Revenge. Watched it. Literally, my
here
notes.
We have arrived to where listening to my episodes will help you.
Right. So I watch it. I get to episode 8. I'm telling myself this is not going to end the way I want it to because they rarely ever do. I finished the anime. The only note I have here is Masamune Kun's Revenge, big cuck. because that's all it is, big cuck. And so I'm like, what did Gray Sama teach me? Masamune Kun's Revenge, full chapters online. So I go on there, read it all. I'm like blown away. I'm finally like, yes, thank you. I can have my mental orgasm at getting what I want. Like just give me the freaking romance I want. So I got it, and as I'm reading it, I'm seeing on the translator's notes on the side, he's explaining how he's asking for support on his Patreon because he's been living at home for the last 13 years because his mother is sick and he's the only one that can take care of her. And I'm trying to focus on this romance boner I have on right now. Well, I keep seeing this, and I'm like, I gotta support this dude. I gotta support it because I keep seeing the translators talking about how he's doing all this chapter upon chapter while he's supporting his mother. Yeah, I'm like, he's gotta get some support, man. So I donated some money on Patreon, and I was like, I'm fairly broke right now too, but I couldn't keep watching this.
Well, no, I've done that before. Yeah. The thing about that, I got to do an episode on mangakas in general. That life is different than anything you could ever expect. It is not animation as you see it. It is not creation as we see it here. It is literally, they give blood, sweat, tears, exhaustion, dehydration, hours upon hours to give you something every week. Yeah. So to translate in a lot of ways, because a lot of the translations are the notes of the people writing. And sometimes it can be tied to the person translating, like with yours, but majority of the time they're actually translating the actual editor's notes and stuff that are there to say like, hey, we're gonna be off next week because my mom is sick or I got sick. And it's excruciating the amount of work that they put into their creations, which is why I always get a little offended if people, will shy away from the medium in general because of fan service or whatever reasons that they form. I'm like, there's more in these pages than any comic book you read. Yeah.
That kind of goes back to something I was going to ask you guys about earlier in our conversation was one thing that I personally appreciate about anime versus cartoons, for example, is that I remember growing up like with the Batman cartoon in the 90s. Sounds great. Series? Before Batman Beyond.
Batman the animated series.
Yeah, so
the good one.
The good one, right? But
the one that
I'm
Justice
saying that
League stole his animation style from. Yes,
I'm saying that to say, those cartoons of that time seem to be more apt to deal with social issues. And with things that were going on, like in the country and in people's everyday lives. So they had a purpose, for what they were showing the kids and things like that. So I felt like there was always more at play with those cartoons at that time. Now I feel like, and I don't watch too many cartoons these days, but they don't seem to hit the same as they used to. And I feel like in a lot of ways, it may be because they're just kind of getting caught up in whatever's popular at this point or whatever's in to say or whatever is in to support, as opposed to actually having a point of view. And that's a lot of times what's missing. I don't feel the same way about anime. That's one thing that I always kind of, I guess for me, is a little different. It's like when I watch a good anime, generally there's a purpose. Generally there is something that they are trying to get, some theme, some theme or something at the heart of it. So I was just going to ask to you guys, like, is that a difference that you notice as well? And kind of how you felt about that? Like, I know there are anime that are just for fun, and that's fine.
Well, they don't have a medium. Because, see, the medium here is like either you cover everything up in lollipops so kids can watch Adventure Time, even though the general story of Adventure Time is dark. And that it's, it's like, it's Fallout with bubblegum. It's what it is.
That's what drew me in so heavily.
Versus you go to the other extreme, which is BoJack Horseman.
Which is not for children.
What's the other one? What's the other one that we watched? The kids. I can't think of the name of it.
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth. Yeah. That's where they go. There's not a lot of guiding lines in between. The guiding lines in between end up being like Disney movies.
And even with like something like Adventure Time, even that is like questionable. Like you,
Well,
like,
that's what I'm
you
saying.
can't
Like
even,
it's
that's something
layer
you can't
upon layer.
really
Like if a
let
kid
certain
watched
children
it,
watch, and it's like,
Because the first season was just random, cutesy,
like fun, yeah.
but
setting
even
up
then
the
there was
world.
still stuff there. Like anything you watch, like the whole zombie episode is in that first thing,
Sure.
and that's about reanimation and
and that plays
bringing
into
things
the
back to
rest
life.
of the series
Yes.
for a long
Right.
time.
But that my thing is that we just don't have as many caveats of using this as a medium to explain things. They just use like, it's time to put the cartoons down and go watch this, and then like when we're adults, we want like, I really wish this would have happened, and then people just make cartoons of that. They don't. It's kind of like, well, I'm not gonna. Well, I'll liken it to the Bible. It's kind of like you go from 15 to 33. Or not 15. I skipped a couple years.
12.
It's a minute. Thank you. I was like, I skipped a couple years. That's why I was like, but what I mean to say is that they don't have that.
I get what you're saying.
They don't try to make that middle gap TV show. And when they try, as we've said before, it's terrible.
I think it's a.
You talking about Rugrats all grown up?
I am.
Anyway,
I had to bring it back up.
Rugrats all
Terrible.
grown up. Yep.
So sad. That's gonna be a running theme. Terrible.
What's that one show where it's like the Canadian teens they all work at a mall? They were like, "So I'm 16, life is sweet."
yeah, no, I think that's what it was,
So
Sweet
fast.
16 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
That was
like
like,
or
I know what
17,
you're
it was
talking
something
about.
like that, yeah.
or like Total Drama Island.
That,
was
that
the
came
Drama
from
Island.
that came from the same. They were all in the same. Those same creators.
Yes.
Total Drama Island was like, thank you for animating real world road rules for us.
Right, like
yeah.
thank
For
you.
us,
Yeah.
30 somethings that used to watch this show that was about.
The thing is, to me, the cultural change
Yeah.
from when Batman was coming out, or Justice League, or the
Yeah.
original Teen Titans, to now,
God, the Teen Titans is
it's,
good.
it's the same.
I heard somebody say they like
issue.
Teen Titans ago and I wanted to cut them.
Okay, I will say about that. I'll say it started off really dumb. There are some like just cool like adult jokes in there,
Yeah.
but it's not anything at all like Teen Titans. The issue that's plaguing American cartoons, some of them now, I feel like is the same issue that plagues comedy or movies or general social commentary.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is the fear of overstepping a boundary and getting canceled or shit on or your show flopping or whatever. Whereas in Japan, they don't have that reservation. They pump out
because they
whatever,
understand
Their culture is
their
different.
general moral standards of treating people is different.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm going to treat you with courtesy. It's not like I have this assumption that what you watch is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting that you say that, though, Ian, because there have never been as many platforms for independent filmmakers and animators to get their their work out there. So it's interesting that what's shown would still be in this place of like this paralysis of being concerned about what whether you'll get canceled or if you'll get picked up.
Well, yeah, that's why they go
it's
extreme
really
and make,
strange.
like I said, Big Mouth is like, you can't cancel it because it lives in the South Park range.
Yeah.
Right.
And like we create these range of like, if you go South Park, we understand what you
There's
are.
a space for that.
If you go, to the left or lighter hearted, we understand what you are. When you're trying to introduce complex social issues of sexuality, of
It's too many boxes.
ageism, of growing up, of what love can be, we don't have the capacity to animate those things, at least not in the ways that anime does. I mean, you'll have these like weird artistic TV shows where they like they're like paintings or they're dreaming or something like that, but we don't take that step to animate these things in a way of like explaining, at least not all the time. I mean, there's rare occasions where that person wants to animate whatever. But majority of the time, like I said, when you tackle certain social issues, they do it in a Disney way. They do it in a way that
roundabout simple, black and white.
You're not really attacking it at all. You're kind of glossing over everything. Like even Black Panther was huge. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. It's still one of my top Marvel movies just because of the general social implications of it. But at the same time, there wasn't really a risk taken. You know,
my issue with
there was no, they don't, I understand killing the villains only because I guess, you know, you don't want to end up having to pay all these superstar actors, even though you have more than enough money. But like the ability in anime to hate a villain, to actually despise them, the ability to see characters grow. There's more often animes where a character grows up than any, and it pays off.
The classic representation is Dragon Ball. You got
and it pays off. Like
Frieza even in Super.
Well, I mean, even with the grown up thing, you have Goku growing up from a child to a absentee father. But
come on, babe.
Oh wow,
come on.
What Piccolo?
He's not wrong.
Listen, look, Piccolo for Father's
He's the
Day.
surrogate dad.
And I think onto that point, there is only a small space of American cartoons where they can try and do that. And that's where it also plays in the American fan service. Of like, you look at Steven Universe, which is very heavily guided by an online influence.
Yes.
And they try to make their social statements, but when the fan base doesn't like what they're trying to do, they influence the show and its creators to change the direction of it.
Yeah,
Right.
well, I think
Some kind of
Steven
way they
Universe
choose.
was kind of meant, to me, that was meant to be a springboard for acceptance of like your sexuality and other things. Is where it kind of ended up leading itself to me.
Yeah.
Now, you know, and that's where they were going, but I think that again, you're on Cartoon Network. It's not late night Cartoon Network. It's not Adult Swim. This is your primetime show. This is one of your shows that you show to everybody that, you know, you have these episodes where you kind of tackle it, but you don't really tackle it. And you're saying all these things, like even the general connection points between the gems is, you know, not subtly sexual, you know, subtly about relationships, subtly about their relationships together. And like, so when you're on that ledge, you don't want to, you have a very small ledge before you get canceled, because you're in the space where kids are actually watching it. And if some parent feels a certain way about what it is you're saying, even though like if this was an anime, it would just be what it is.
Yeah. There wouldn't be
there wouldn't be
debate about
you
it.
know, you would just go with whatever it is you were trying to go with, because you know, initially you kind of think it's about Steven, and in some ways it kind of is, but on the bigger scale, it's about his adolescence and kind of experiencing things.
It's a little bit like Neon Genesis in that way.
Yeah.
Like growing up and indecisiveness. And,
Yes.
But I will say they do cross the ledge.
They do. I was just gonna say,
And they're still going.
because I feel like
this
that's
day.
more what the people that like the audience for Steven Universe wants, is that it is playing specifically to that audience more so than a
They
mainstream
built the fan.
audience.
They springboarded,
And-
built the fan service.
Yes,
Yes.
because that was the whole
That's
thing
really
of
what
like
I was
when they
gonna say,
started
too.
doing the fusion powers, I think between Steven and I can't think of the girl's name. but-
Garnet and
Garnet, yeah.
You know, even in any of those things, it's just like there's something you're saying. And I understand, like, I don't have no problem with it, just because, you know, like, that wasn't my cup of tea in terms of watching Steven Universe. Like, I thought it was cool, but it wasn't something that I was going to, like, just watch. Just because a lot of those series are series that I'd rather wait till they're done to go and watch them, because then I can watch whatever it is, whatever story you were trying to tell. Yeah. But, again, we're influenced by a lot of different things here. Because what they ultimately did was... like I said, start on a springboard. Like you were going to dive off and just jump, but you hitch a little bit. So then it just becomes like, if you say what you are and be what you are, fine, step out. Like, be what you want to be. But when you like are kind of apprehensive about it, well, then that's when you give leeway for the cancel people, because they were watching and they didn't know, like, because they're watching and you're waffling on what it is you're trying to do, you stifle your audience, the audience you want to speak to, because the people you don't want to speak to were watching.
they're trying to catch you, trying to do something.
And then it's like, you know, when you finally kind of jump off and satisfy the people you meant to satisfy all along, the people, the 5 or 10 people who weren't saying, "Oh no, we're not doing it."
I wanted Steven to be with whoever with this one right here, and now you're not doing it.
So, but
that's something that I think is.
But
really
that cultural
too.
relevance is something that I think is like, again, like I don't have to agree. Like I don't have to. But if representation is something that I've always spoken about in the sense that I understand the purpose and I value the purpose. But if you do not do it in a way that like allows me to have a choice, then yeah, I don't like it. Then I'm going to move on. Then I'm going to, not watch. Then people are going to cancel, because what you've ultimately done, like I said, is offered me one plate that you never intended to offer in the first place. Right. And so there's no way that I can be satisfied with that. There's no way that I can be satisfied totally with Black Panther because the representation could have gone a step further. Yeah. It is trying to go a step further. We the other thing that like happens a lot, I think, in our culture is they have something against making new characters. Yeah. Instead of making new characters, the goal is then change the character that we have to fit the social thing that we want to fit.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, or just an option. Let's try and be creative.
Make a new one.
Let's try and make a character. I'm in the camp for
both, though. I'm in the camp for both. I'm okay with redoing certain characters, and I'm okay with like getting new characters.
When it makes sense, it's fine. But a lot of the time, it's like, well, actually, like Iceman and X-Men. That was the weirdest thing in the world to me, only because it was like, so Gene just went too far into his head and realized that all along, he was really putting up a front, which I get is the thing that happens, but it was cheap to me.
Sure.
Because I feel like a lot of the time you can give people what they're asking for. You can make a lot of characters. The world is vast, and again, trying to counteract what it is you didn't do, the steps you didn't take. The Black representation in DC is trash.
The Indian representation in DC is pretty trash. They got Cyborg.
My man's
doesn't count. No, I'm kidding. No, Cyborg's. And Starfire too. Now, I will say this about Starfire. I'm gonna say this about Starfire. In the comic,
she's
orange. Orange don't translate to white to me necessarily. True. And it wasn't until they did the new Teen Titans or whatever that she legit looked white and sounded white. But in the comics, she don't. But
that was
alien.
But it was
she was very alien.
But it was
exactly
the 70s,
like she could just
and
be
everybody
alien.
had big curly permed hair.
No, no. I don't care what nobody say.
She was hot in the comics.
Ain't nobody here looking like that.
So here's a representation thing for me, which I was asking for a long time as they were doling out Spider-Man remakes left and right.
Oh my God, yeah.
They finally brought out Miles Morales.
Yes.
Which to me, we can all relate to that.
Yes.
Half black, half Puerto Rican. I'm all about it. That's not a shoehorn representation. That's someone that's been around.
You lucky we're in the middle of this podcast.
We start watching it.
Just wait till the end of the podcast.
But to me, it was like just a very out of left field animation brought out that was great. It wasn't pushing it too overtly. It wasn't trying to say, we have this Spider-Man. Be happy that all the other ones are white and this one isn't.
And this one...
they hated
it. And then, okay, I won't even go into because I was asked last semester whether or not, as a woman, when I go into a movie, whether I identify with the female character or whatever. And I'm like, well, is she black? Is she a minority? Because if she's not, then I have to find another reason to identify with her. And generally speaking, if they want to add inclusion, there's a black man or an other man, just any kind of other man, and a white woman.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay. If these are my options, then I have to find something about the white woman that I can identify with. So it's really interesting that Gwen, because I love Spider-Gwen, and Miles Morales both get this movie, but that's the movie that they get. You know what I mean? I think that's really...
Yeah.
And they get
it's an interesting way of subverting it.
Well, and they get their pseudo
appeasement.
could be relationship thing between them,
which I think is cute.
which I thought was great too. But it's
I
like
think
they're
it's
not
really
gonna. But they also did a.
I mean, they can't be together.
They also did a thing where they were
but-
gonna do Miles and Miss Marvel. Not
I know
Captain
who Miss
Marvel.
Marvel
I said
is.
I said it right. Never mind. In my head, I thought I said Captain Marvel, but like they pulled back. But like to get back to this is all in the anime culture. Sorry, guys.
Animation.
It's in the animated universe.
Listen, I'm an otaku for real.
You can link it back all the way.
But like I've always enjoyed that anime representation is earnest.
Yeah.
I don't feel it's forced. I mean, sometimes it can be because anybody can have that, but I feel like here we force because we're more so moving from the impromptu social cues that no one cared about in the first place versus I want to create something that says a lot. Like it's a trope. Like everything that exists is a trope.
Yeah.
Like it's commonplace in a sense that like it can't be forced because this is something we do all the time. Like when I say BL, you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
And
all of that stuff is so
favorite.
deeply connected to. It's so deeply connected to like even the the theater and the roots of their culture and stuff like that. So like of course they're tropes because these are stories that have been told since the beginning of time.
The light versus dark, Star Wars.
That might also be another thing that we as Americans or citizens of the United States. Let me say that because there's more than one America. Struggle with. Let me be careful. That struggle with.
I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, no, I gotta.
Welcome to
I know some.
NPR.
No. Just shout out to the Melton Foundation. I gotta respect my Chilean brothers and sisters.
Oh no, I was messing with you. It
I know.
like you.
But
I, Prima Diva, and for 2020, I am running for the presidential candidacy.
who knows?
Do
I
not
might.
listen to this podcast because I've already said too much.
But is that because we're so new,
Yeah.
in terms of the history of the world as a country, we're so new that we don't have as many the tropes that we had, for example, in Black culture, are used, but can only be used in certain contexts and by certain people.
Yes.
And by trope, I mean mammy.
Yes.
I mean.
Oh no, they was terrible with that.
Topsy.
Like I love
Uncle Tom.
Are you talking about black exploitation?
Yeah.
No, I mean not just black
technically,
exploitation, but just in general. Like
the
Mickey Mouse in
Looney
Disney
Tunes-
starting off as a all of these are problematic.
Looney Tunes were the
tropes.
worst.
Yes.
Like I literally was in love with Looney Tunes. That was my favorite. I loved them more than I loved any Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck,
I was
whatever.
too till I saw the.
And then when
the
I
old
watched
ones.
when you watched the old ones, it was like, whoa.
This ain't the
okay.
representation I was looking for. And so like that's
This
what I'm
ain't
saying.
what I
like,
thought y'all was out here doing, fam.
Those
Come
tropes
on, fam.
that we
Let's
had
hear more.
are just so because it was founded on such. I'm not saying that other countries weren't, but founded on such divisive and terrible stereotypes that they're not really. We can't use those. I mean, you can, but only if you're like going up an absurdist route or you're trying to make a point in a different way. So it's
Yes. You can only relate to
we have
a
to like
certain level.
recreate
Yeah.
an
But
entirely
anime
new
doesn't do that.
foundation.
Yes.
Anime doesn't do that, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, how do you feel about American representations in anime, or more specifically for us,
It's
colored
really interesting.
representations in anime? Because I have two sides to it, and I will present them. To
I
you
want
right
to. I
now.
want to hear yours.
Number
Yeah,
one,
start with yours.
every time I see any kind of brown character in an anime that isn't one of those like weird Japanese tan girls.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
overtly
That's
racist
that's
or-
them a thing of being the tan girls is a them
Yeah.
wanting to be black.
Yeah.
thing,
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
yes.
Like,
it's
that's
a
a whole-
weird form of blackface
Yeah.
that they idolize, and I don't know
Like-
if
Which
it's
is a
harmful or
which
not,
is a
but
very
it's something-
hard like
Well, for them, it's
fuzzy line of
idolization.
appropriation
But go ahead.
and
I didn't
appreciation.
mean to cut you off because
No,
you
I
had a
do
role,
like
but
that
I was
you-
like,
I do like that you pointed.
but
that out,
that is
because that's
something that
weird-
like because I had literally
weird.
saw that like
It's
a
really
little
weird.
while ago or like a
And
couple
then
years
I
ago.
mean, but it's weird on the opposite side too, like because then again, it's like I understand wanting to
Oh,
be
they love
white.
us.
No, I'm talking about like the cute part that like the people that prefer the white light fair skin.
Right, yeah,
Like,
the
that's
traditional
still-
Japanese.
It's still like
I want her paler than the moon.
Yeah, exactly. That was,
Eyes that shine
and
like
no one
stars.
even pointed out how terrible that really is.
Yes.
What's wrong with how you were made? But
Yeah,
anyway,
and
go on.
that's
Like how
always
you
been a
came.
weird thing in Japanese culture. But like,
Yeah.
the most of the time that I've seen him represent, or like I can't remember the anime name, but they did one with like Barack Obama, and it wasn't too bad. It looked like him, and he had was it Air Gear?
Air Gear had Barack Obama in it. I don't know if
Wow.
Well, it wasn't. It might not have been. Well, technically he was in
didn't
the
know this.
manga, but they never used him in the anime. But
Because there was
in the
like one
manga,
little
they used him.
anime clip I saw in like funny anime clips on YouTube, some random thing I was watching, where they used Barack Obama, and it wasn't terrible. It wasn't oversized lips or
Yeah.
whatever. It was just him as a drawing with a very American voice, telling like, yeah, go fucking destroy those people, like a very American thing, like go blow them up.
Yeah,
Yes.
And I was like, that's
I can see
okay.
him doing that.
But the other times I've seen it have just been very problematic. And I've also seen, like in Devilman Crybaby or in like the Zombieland Saga, I think the title star type of anime.
Yeah.
They use rap quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
In a very cool, progressive way. Which
Oh no,
I
they
enjoy.
literally,
Yeah.
like I said, they love hip hop.
Yes.
They
I
love
them
hip-hop
doing
and-
hip hop. Weirdly
Yes.
enough. I love Japanese, Korean, and
mean-
Chinese rappers.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Have you
Yes.
you have seen Samurai Champloo,
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
All right, so that
Yeah.
like that
And
is
it's perfect.
It's b-boy. It's b-boy samurai.
Yeah.
It's literally what it is. You know, Afro Samurai in and of itself is still hip hop in that way, and it's Man with the Iron Fist ish in terms of everything. And I think there is a level of appreciation. You know, there is still the mammy, stuff that can happen, like Mr. Popo.
Mr. Popo is
Popo,
great.
something that we just like it literally.
Or
it never bothered me.
Jinx and Pokemon.
Yes, Jinx and Pokemon
they changed her
is
colors.
the was it? Well, they
Oh,
changed it.
yeah. No, I remember.
Well,
I
because
remember.
of the stuff that I was talking about earlier
Yeah.
with the tan.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the thing. That was their like Jinx, Mr. Popo, same kind of line.
Yeah.
And this is 94, like 94. So this is
Yeah.
when they're really starting the. What do they call them? What do they call the tan girls?
I don't
It's like
remember.
a G, but I can't think of it.
I don't know.
I
You'd have
can't
to pull up a
remember the
hentai
name of it.
website for me. I have no clue.
Oh man, but
yeah,
it's like
something
a
really weird.
it's a G word, but I can't think of it.
Gals? Is that what it is?
Gals, yeah, gals.
There it is.
That's
I
probably
just
it.
have
Yes,
a very
it's gals.
specific image
'Cause
in
I'm
my
like,
head.
it's G, and I'm like, she's a gal, and like gals are apparently always loose.
Yes,
rebellious.
Yes, that's really weird. Which I liked the Sure Dere children, where they had the gal girl smoking the cigarette.
Yep.
And kind of like domesticated her in a weird way.
Yeah, but she wasn't
Yeah.
tanned,
Odd. But she wasn't tan. She was still
and I
like
like
a blonde.
that. Yeah, and that like,
It was kind of like the taming of the shrew in a
Yes,
sense, in
yeah.
a Shakespearean
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
and
Exactly.
I like those aspects of when they basically take cultural stuff and make it kind of relevant. Like Carol and Tuesday is amazing with like the musical aspect of understanding and giving shout outs to Michael Jackson and Prince and all of these influences that are there. Even in watching Ninja Assassin with Rain, the guy who played the main character,
Yeah.
like the fact that he's a Korean huge superstar and like has sang songs with Usher, and it's like, but he's also an action star, and like,
He's badass in Ninja Assassin.
yeah, and like so finding I have it on Blu-ray, one of the first Blu-rays I ever bought in my life.
Of course.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, but yeah, go ahead with your point.
Ganguro.
Did you finish your point?
Ganguro?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Ganguro,
Ganguro.
yes. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to get your opinion on it because I feel like I've enjoyed some of the ways they handle Americans in anime. They're very funny. Usually,
It depends on how they do it, because I feel like a lot of the time, when they're doing it right, they make fun of white people,
Yes,
and that is like
that's hilarious.
always hilarious.
My mom
Sorry.
actually
Sorry.
pointed that out as like a reason, like before I even really knew what anime
Yeah.
was. She was like, I I heard that they was just making fun of white people, and I thought that was so funny.
But they do,
But
and
they
like
do.
they do it in like
But-
Mr. Hercule or Hercule.
Yeah.
Is like literally an American representation of you think you're strong, but you're not.
He's
Yes.
Randy Savage.
Yes.
Literally just Randy Savage.
With
But
the
it's
mustache and
interesting because it
everything.
doesn't matter where you're from. Like, I feel like every country in some shape, form, or fashion does not pass up an opportunity to shit on the United States
Oh, no, not
when
at
they
all.
can. Like, Britain is horrible
But
for
one
it.
thing that I will say, sports animes, they never shoot that shot.
No, they never touch it because they know.
in terms of having
they
like
know.
that.
No. They'll have the black guy on there. Like in Our Shield 21, like when you watch it and you get to the parts where it's like the one black guy that is in there, it's like, oh, he ain't playing no games.
No.
He's not here to play around with you guys.
Like, and it's like he's fun, but you about to understand exactly what. And they try to do the racism. Like, okay, it's not gonna spoil anything, but I have to use it because it basically illustrates exactly what you're saying.
Right.
So they're on this team. He has a coach. His coach is a white guy who used to play in the NFL or whatever the professional sports league. He got replaced by a black guy who was better than him, and he did not like that.
Yeah.
So he treated the black person that is now on his team kind of bad, and expected more of him and all this other stuff. And they deal with it. They face it head on to kind of get through that and let him, when he lets him play and just lets him play, and he stops being bitter about the fact that no, you're just not
as good.
You're just
Dude,
not as
deal
good.
With it. Like
I'm sorry
It's nothing
about
to do
that.
with the
And
fact
it's-
that you're white. You're just not as good.
And it's like
man.
like even though that person was a Deion Sanders kind of jerk, I'm not that. Like when they do it, and they do it well, because they understand, like minorities in general, even though they wouldn't be a minority where they're creating these things, understanding that perspective of being marginalized, of being counted out, because they understand themselves. Like when they do sports animes, they understand that currently when they do them, you're literally second to whatever's going on in America, because you don't have a pro system that is the same as the things that we have here. You don't go to school saying, I want to.
You're talking about like in Japanese culture how
Yeah.
pro athletes aren't as idolized as they are here and stuff. Yeah.
No, and there's not the same kind of training programs and everything. Like,
that's true.
you're literally, when you get out of high school, you either go to a job and you can go to college, and there are colleges for the things that you want, but it's not like, well, I'll just go to LSU or I'll go here. It's like, well, I can go to this
D1
one.
school so I can get
There's no
scholarships
D1. It's like there
Right,
might be
right.
one or two, maybe 10 or whatever schools that actually have this stuff. And
They
that's
have
it.
to be top of the line.
And I mean top. And then you realize that at the top of your line is not even the top of American lines. Like you're literally maybe scratching the surface of AAU or whatever the case may be, because they didn't do that. Their clubs and stuff are again running for that year. They have the fall tournament, they have the spring tournament, they have the random tournaments that they throw in there in anime that you're like, oh, but I thought it was the seniors last game. But
That's true.
you to understand that, and it's coming from people like they understand, again, like I said, where they place or where they feel they place, and they eloquently show that through the sports animes, because majority of the time, like the American team is always arrogant or whatever, but they always note it to be full of all-stars. They always note it to be full of great people, and they always note themselves as underdogs in that way.
Sure. Which makes beating them a better payoff, or
Which makes it a better payoff, and they develop the characters a lot more. So I guess ultimately, to answer your question, it just depends, because it's still something that is new.
Yeah.
What I think and what I've always wanted is for us to start trying to work with them.
Yeah.
To understand the actual representations that we're looking for, because culturally, both of us, what animes do we have outside of like Boondocks? And I count Boondocks as an anime.
It most certainly is anime.
I was gonna ask you that earlier. Is Boondocks an anime?
It most certainly is.
I feel like it is as well.
Because he
honestly.
sent it off to be animated by
Yeah.
people who animated anime.
Yeah.
Like the only thing is that, and he
Yokio, I haven't
understood
really-
the actual the actual
cute,
cultural
though.
things. But
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I just think that if there were more people who tried, because sometimes it's kind of hard and you don't have that kind of representation. Like there are, like I remember one time, Primitive wanted to watch something new, and she said, let me look up, black heroines, black main characters, and all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so
valiant effort.
Thank you.
But as soon as she did it, she found
one. So hard to watch.
Like because
it was very slice of life, very realistic. These were not superheroes. These were
real people,
black and brown people
life.
living in what felt like kind of a island country, or like a Latin American kind of country where because you could see
New Mexico
what looked like favelas.
Like
you could see these really, and it's gritty. And
what was it called?
I'm trying to let me find it.
It was on Crunchyroll, and then when we went back to look for it, we couldn't find it.
Sounds familiar. Sounds like a Brazilian,
but it was
it was like Brazilian.
Anime.
That's exactly what I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was Hachiko.
I think I'm trying to find it.
And she gave her like another nickname because she gave her this nickname, but it was. There has to be more.
Yeah,
I love it because again, I love the stuff. I love the food and everything else. You got it?
No.
Oh.
I was gonna ask Ian a question.
But yeah, I just think that there could be more. There could be more things that we do. But you go ahead. Ask your question.
I was just gonna ask, how did you respond to Chad in Bleach or Sato in Bleach?
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because he doesn't. I don't know too much about Bleach, but he doesn't seem like the character they portray him as, if that makes sense.
He seems like he's supposed to be Hispanic or
kind of
Latinx or something.
Yeah, some kind of like typical mutt American that's been thrown in. Like you look at it, and to a lot of countries they think of Americans as either white Aryan race or an amalgamation of something.
Yeah.
Well, it isn't until he when they get deeper into the series and he gets deeper into his powers, that's when he talks about his abuelo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean they're using Spanish all throughout.
And he talks about his his abuelo, and he starts using
and he's the quiet one, right? He's the one.
Yeah, the big tall quiet one that's boom, 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 like that could knock you out. And he starts using all of these different attacks that are named and named with Spanish names.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me because the best representation that they do is when they travel the world. Like in the anime, if they're going to travel the world, they end up in Puerto Rico, you are in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And like, even though they're speaking Japanese or, they take their time. You found it?
Yeah, it's Machiko Tohachin.
Yeah.
It looks familiar.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah,
it was
Brazilian,
like
so it's definitely
every
Brazilian.
episode was very.
I couldn't finish it because it was just so gritty. I mean, like we got to one episode that was just so heartbreaking that I was like, "No, man, y'all can't be."
Yeah,
because there's funny stuff that happens, but
little girl's mom or
her sister. Like so, the anime is about Michiko finds this little girl who she believes is her daughter. She just got out of jail. I'm not certain if she believes it's her daughter. She believes she's the daughter of a man that she was in love with before she went to jail. She's a known criminal, so she's on the run. And she picks this girl up from this horrible situation, kind of rescues her from an orphanage of like horrible people or an adopted situation. But in the story, in that particular episode, they meet another two people that are very much like them. So there's a woman who's the girlfriend or mistress of this known drug dealer, and she's taking care of her 10-year-old sister who is a thief. So her sister is known to, go pick up stuff for them. Well, they get into a situation where they're trying to get out. They want to get on the next thing, steaming up out of this thing.
And
so
what
they
noir.
think is that they can steal
life as well
from the drug dealer. Well, the girl, she tells her little sister like she accidentally left something or left the money or something like that back at the drug dealer's house. She's like, I'll go back and get it. She's like, no, don't go. And she goes anyways. And so she begs Michiko to go get her. She's like, I know you can fight. I know you're good at this. Can you please go save my sister? I think she's going to die. Mm-hmm. She doesn't do it because she doesn't want to endanger her or the girl that's with her.
Yeah, right.
And it's so sad and heartbreaking because you see, and I mean, I get why she doesn't do it because like earlier in the episode, they had kind of betrayed them. They kind of played them a little bit. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of already for that purpose to get out of there. So their intentions were good, even though what they did was terrible.
It sounds like a very Brazilian.
Oh, it's super.
Have you ever
like
seen
City of God? Yeah.
Yes,
it is
She's
super
seen
City
it once
of God.
and said she would never watch it again.
No, I was assigned to watch it again for a class, and I said, no, I'm not watching this again. I watched it once, and that's it. That's it.
That kind of anime sounds interesting to me because it is sort of a different look into another attitude rather than what we have currently.
Right.
Of that sort of escapism. Like I was talking about earlier, it's a different sort of, some people want to go into a happy-go-lucky slice of life anime or harem or romance to get their feelings up. And for other people, they want to go into Berserk or Hachi or something that's just
But you just want to find the thing that's for you. I think that's the one thing that is culminating as we hit, as long as we've hit.
As we break it up.
But like, with how good they are at the representation that we see, we're still seeking the representation of the biggest representation of us.
Right.
Like it still satisfies me in terms of my escapism and things that I desire because I enjoy their culture and food and everything else. But I am still looking for that. There's me.
Yeah.
Like even when you see you, it's not like you're the star. It's like you're the ancillary character. But
yes.
And there's a weird aspect of it where they introduce like main character transfer student who is a blank slate for you to impose yourself on as the character. It's not quite representation, but it is.
No, because they leave it so blank and so cookie cutter.
Yes.
Like I said, even the black character in iShield 21 is cookie cutter stuff. It's like, his grandma was like, yeah, boy, go blade.
It's almost like they don't want to step on any sort of landmine or do anything too extreme, so they just leave it up to you.
And in a lot of ways, they don't know, but that's apparent.
That'll change. It's always changing.
Did you have, before we get on out of here, did you have any other questions or did you get through most of your notes?
Pretty much. I mean, we kind of went back in a roundabout way to sort of the escapism.
Yeah.
Just now. Let me check my notes real quick. I did write a lot, so I was just trying to get through. Yeah, pretty much. We can talk about more at some other point. But the escapism of it, that is true with the representation.
Oh, there's definitely another OVA coming with me. Because listen,
I have so much, dude.
Yes.
No one else has made me allowed the general explosion of the way I think and the way I watch and all the things that I've watched. So
it's very interesting. It's nice to have this because for a long time I felt ashamed.
Yeah,
because I have my very best friend Daniel Beltram, filmmaker, UCA, already graduated and whatever. I've known him since I moved here. I moved here in 2004 from Puerto Rico. His mom taught me
2 years before we graduated.
I was 7. Okay.
Nice.
Oh my God.
I met him several months after that. And we've been best friends forever. He's known how I am with anime. I introduced him to anime. Like we don't judge each other, just various quirks. Yeah. But since he is such a film snob, that he has been quoted to say, and I will quote him, he thinks that 99% of anime is trash. And I agreed to a certain point if I lower the number.
If you're listening to this, Daniel, in the words of Kev on stage, it can be whatever, cuz.
It can be
whatever.
And that's the point that I was trying to make with him. There's such a huge amount of anime that, yes, if you look at it through a certain lens and a large focus, a lot of it to you or to me or to somebody else might be trash.
Most mainstream movies are trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Indeed.
So if there's only a certain percentage of something you're watching that you like, then the rest of it is trash. And yeah, it's going to be trash, but it doesn't mean it's invalid.
Listen, I just send you through the Toonami run of when you were 7 that you couldn't watch it.
Yes.
So, that's...
And I bring up stuff to him all the time, and he's got, I just have to call him out on the podcast because he also thinks that most musicals and plays are trash as well. So
that guy is on the hit list now.
So I'm slowly re-educating him. He's You know,
Listen, man.
He knows he is flawed.
Let me tell you this. Let me
He
tell you
knows
this.
he has
Let me-
shortcomings.
Let me tell you this,
It's so
Daniel.
cute.
Look at him at
Zombie
Super Circus on
movies
YouTube.
are the easiest things to film.
Trash.
Trash.
Oh, one more anecdote about now that we're talking about zombies. Back to the judging thing. I always thought like I should hide that aspect or whatever, especially for my parents because a lot of the anime is just very graphic, and my parents are super chill, super cool, super awesome. But I didn't know what they would expect. So one day, my dad asked me, "Hey, I'm trying to find something to watch. I don't really like any of the shows I have. Do you have anything to watch?" And I was like, what would be good to show him that would interest him? There's action and fan service. High School of the Dead.
Great choice.
So I gave him the link to go watch it. He watched the whole series several times, and now he is an anime fan. He watched Akame ga
Nice.
Kill. He watched Kill la Kill.
Did he finish?
Yes.
We talked about this already before we got on
Do you know
on
who
air.
hasn't finished
He
Akame ga
knows.
Kill? Let's just say it again. You haven't finished?
No, I caught the end of it with him, but it wasn't like fully. Like I didn't sit down and watch.
Oh no,
it
you're fine.
completely.
This one who says to me, no.
knows.
Hold on.
She told me.
Yeah, we're gonna
We
say
were
it on the
talking about
podcast
Masamune.
again because this is another running theme.
Oh my god.
So my wife likes dark animes.
Yeah.
She loves them.
Yeah.
I don't love them. There are just some
Okay,
that I
name
really appreciate.
Name all the suggestions you've given me.
Okay. Future Diaries.
Yeah, that's right.
We started Akage ga Kill.
With school days.
I don't remember any of the others.
Yeah.
Top choice Berserk.
Two in terms of dark.
I actually have never watched Berserk,
I'm
but I
not
thought
doing
about
it.
it.
Tearjerker, man. That
I
is
can't
a
do it.
tearjerker.
No.
Read it.
I don't want to cry.
do you like
Reading
Dark
it, I'll do.
Souls?
No.
Oh, well.
Listen, like I'm a glutton for punishment, but like
That is literally the highest form of
Blame
punishment.
Gurren Lagann.
you have to have
Yes.
a whole lot of time.
You gotta have a hearty soul to read through and watch Berserk. I'm telling you, there is no end to his punishment.
No,
in
you
that.
know how much.
No, I
There's no
can't deal
general
with
like
it.
anyway.
My man's
Rape. All I'm gonna say.
J. Cole line. Some things you can't escape: death, taxes, and a rape.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
Berserk.
That's
scary.
Berserk, and that's Berserk.
That is Berserk.
Yeah, never
Without
watching
me
that.
around. No, you wouldn't make it.
There's no
No.
taxes in Berserk. I'll tell you that.
Taxing that ass. But anyway, this has been an amazing OVA, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little longer than our normal episodes,
Absolutely.
but I don't care. It's an OVA.
Right.
We do, we got our swimsuits on.
I'm chilling.
We're at the water park.
Gray Sama is about to apply some sunscreen on me.
Yeah, for the BL fan service of this episode. As my wife was like, "What are you guys doing?"
No. I'm approaching the pool like
Nani?
I'm standing behind like one of those fake palm trees, looking out like what is happening, plotting on how I'm going to destroy this thing before it happens.
All right, DJ Gray, off the beat.
Anyway, yeah, do your thingy.
What thingy?
Tell them where to follow
Oh,
us.
okay. You guys know already that you can find Icarus is it Icarus_Gray on
the gram.
Instagram, and then Icarus Gray on Twitter. You can find me at Prima Diva on Twitter, as well as at Prima Diva Red on Instagram. I promise I will be more entertaining on Instagram shortly. And Ian, where can they find you?
On Daniel Belcher's page.
Yes,
that's right.
Actually,
That's
literal
right.
instructions that I was given.
yes. Go to Disco Dan on Instagram. I don't know what his Twitter handle is, but F that
work.
dude. Go to Super Reggie on Snapchat. I don't have any social media right now. I will at some point when I'm pushing myself as a product, but otherwise,
Don't rush it, man. It's
I'll be on stage.
vortex.
You'll catch me if the wind, you smell me.
Yay.
All right, guys. Gonna do something a little different here for the outro, and let's see how it works. Checking out the bars. I'm going hard. You know I'm a star. I'm going far. I'm sorry, I'm way better than this.
He's serious.
Checking this immaculate thing that I be doing with those. They be mad cause they knowing that the bug at the floor. I'm just cold like an Ichiro roll. And they know when the bug at the floor. I'm like Ichigo, whiter than some bleach. Whiter than some bleach. You know.
Yeah.
I meant to mute you and muted him.
I'm ready for his part.
Oh. Hold on, wait. I'm going to fade back in.
Fade it back in. All right. Yeah. I am very spiritual, like Kirito.
Yeah.
With my weapon arts.
Yeah.
I'm coming critical.
Yeah.
Hits on ya.
Yeah.
Face shots to ya.
Okay.
If you wanna come at me, you got the Kamehameha. Ha on your face. I'ma put you in your place, and we out here in the middle of the Gray's place on the podcast, looking like Sway.
I'm about to tell y'all bye. Bunkai.
Bunkai.